The NBA draft is less than 24 hours away, so I thought I would release my 2026 predictive NBA mock draft. This is what I think is going to happen tomorrow, not my picks. If you want to know more about what prospects I like, then go ahead and check out my previous video running through my big board and my draft guide with the top 100 prospects that I released. And so with the first pick, I believe the Washington Wizards will select Darren Peterson. I know today they just signed Trae Young to an extension, but rumor has it everyone in his camp believes he will 100% be picked by the Wizards. Also, he only worked out for the Wizards and not anyone else. And now, in nowadays NBA, the camp runs the show. It's all done behind the scenes. I'm pretty confident that's what's going to happen. I wouldn't read into the Trae extension too much. I think they're just trying to keep around a good player. Which means at number 2, I think the Jazz take AJ DeBonsta, stays in state, in Utah, home crowd favorite. I think that's likely where it's going to go, which means by default, pick 3 and 4, pretty obvious. Boozer to the Grizzlies and Caleb Wilson to the Chicago Bulls. At 5, this is where things start to get crazy, and I really am not confident about anything from here on out. This is one of the first drafts in a while where we don't even know who the first pick is going to be. So at number 5, I think I'm just going to go Keaton Wagler. Right now, he is the betting odds favorite to go number 5. Also, in his interviews, he seems very confident about where he's going to be drafted and that it's going to be early on. He doesn't seem like he has no idea, which makes me think he's going to be drafted sooner rather than later. At number 6, I have the Nets taking Nate Ament. As much as I hate to say it, because this is the most Nets pick ever, but it's been rumored, and the Nets have just been proven to reach year after year, and they're not reaching for someone who turns out to be really good either. They just consistently make bad picks as a franchise, and I think this is just going to be another one of them, and Nate Ament is going to be the bust of the 2026 NBA draft. At number 7, we have the Sacramento Kings taking Darius Acuff. This seems pretty locked in. I think this is where he wants to go. It's kind of a mutual agreement that this is a good landing spot for him. At number 8, with the Atlanta Hawks, this one I debated on a ton of different guys, like 4 or 5 different guys, but I ended up on Kingston Flemings simply because I feel like he fits in with the current Atlanta Hawks culture the best. Also, giving them another primary guard, they can have multiple lineups between him, CJ Dyson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They can switch it up there. Very defensive oriented. So I just feel like that culture fit right there is perfect. At number 9, we have the Dallas Mavericks selecting Yaxel Lindenborg. I wouldn't have actually mocked this yesterday or any time before, but today the Mavericks hired Dusty May, came out of nowhere, shocked the world. I'm still trying to process it all as an Illini fan. Thankfully, knowing that we don't have to play Dusty May again, so it's very interesting. But Yaxel also did say in an interview that if Dusty May doesn't pick him up, if he's available at 9, that he'd be very disappointed. So while it seems obvious, I might be reading into it too much, it might be too obvious, but it just makes sense, so that's what I'm going to go with. Which means at number 10, the Bucks land Michael Brown Jr. Wow, I mean, if this happens, that just is a perfect placement, like just falling into the Bucks' lap. He's number 5 on my big board, so this would be an absolute steal. The Bucks are terrible drafters, so they can't mess this up. I mean, I feel like they're in a great position as long as Nate Ament doesn't fall to them and they take them, because I know that's another rumor. If the Nets don't, the Bucks will. As long as that doesn't happen, and if Michael Brown drops, absolutely take him 1,000%. This is the floor for where Michael Brown is going to get drafted. He could go as high as 5 to the Clippers. At 11, with the Warriors, I have Hans Steinbach, which is probably a big surprise, but the Warriors desperately need rebounding. And Steinbach is ready now. He's one of the best college rebounders, and he's a freshman, so he has plenty of time to develop. Kristaps Porzingis, I think, is the perfect mentor for him. Also, Steinbach has some shooting potential, being in that Warriors system with Stephen Curry and Steve Kerr. I really just think that that works well and would be a really, really, really underrated draft fit. And I think the Warriors can see that too and pick him up early. At 12, the Thunder will take Cameron Carr. He's just a perfect 3-and-D fit, replacing Aaron Wiggins there. Another Jalen Williams-esque type guy. This would be perfect. This would be nasty. Let's move on to 13 with the Miami Heat. I have them taking Braden Berries. Again, this has to be his floor. He can go as high as 5, and this would just fall in the Heat's lap. Best player available. This would be fantastic for their organization for sure. He's also a combo guard, so that helps because I do know they have guys like Davion Mitchell, Tyler Hero, Kasparis Yakushonis that are all rotational guys that are guards there, Pele Larson, and so on. At 14, we have the Hornets taking Morez Johnson Jr. He's a seamless fit into the 4th spot in their organization. Plus, last year, they drafted 2 UConn guys coming off a championship, or not coming off a championship, but a UConn team that had championship pedigree, and that turned out well. This year, they went on a run, started this huge winning culture, and Morez Johnson, even at Illinois before the championship at Michigan, he's just a part of teams that have a winning culture. So again, I think this is seamless, and I definitely think that's going to be the pick for the Hornets there at 14, which means at 15, my Chicago Bulls will take Ade Mara. Man, I would love this pairing with Caleb Wilson. Our new GM has the slap mentality, size, length, athleticism, and that'll come back to me. He's also the best player available. Physicality, that's the P. I knew it'd come back to me. I think Mara fits pretty much all of those. Obviously, he could be more athletic, but being 7'3", don't necessarily need to be. But at that point, I feel like that's a pretty simple pick for the Bulls GM right there to make. At 16, the Grizzlies, I have them taking Kareem Lopez. There isn't really much logic to this. He seems like a Grizzlies type of player. So again, I'm not really confident about this one. I'm just going off of vibes for that pick. At 17, we have the Thunder with Dalen Swain. He's a great slasher. Again, another great wing fit. He's ready to play now and contribute. Nasty, great pick. The Thunder, they're just going to keep on blessing themselves over and over. Guarantee it. And then at 18, the Hornets will also take LeBaron Philon Jr. This would be a huge steal that I'd love to see. Being the backup, the 6-man to LaMelo Ball. He's also a winning player who I do believe will turn into a starter one day. But, I mean, this is just LaMelo insurance too if he gets suspended or injured. Like, I am very confident with Philon running my offense at the NBA level with no worries. At 19, we have the Raptors taking Chris Sanac. This is just a match made in heaven. They need a more traditional big who can play center other than Jakob Poeltl. That's more versatile in their skill set. That's exactly what Sanac possesses. And he has a super high ceiling as well. I think the Raptors are going to be all over that. At 20, we have the Spurs taking Jaden Quaintance. And this may come as a shock. You're like, why? They have Wemby and Jaden Quaintance could both play at the same time. I don't care that they're both like strictly centers. Wemby can stretch the floor, and defensively, that has potential to be the best defensive front court ever. And I don't say that lightly. It's just a matter of developing Quaintance and making sure he stays healthy. At 21, the Pistons will take Allen Graves. I think they can swing on a 3-and-D upside. Tobias Harris isn't getting any younger. They definitely need some more shooters, and Graves is used to playing off of a bench role. So I think he'd be a good fit in Detroit for sure. At 22, we have the Sixers taking Henry Visar. I think this might come as a surprise to a lot of people that he'd get taken this high. I've been high on him personally as a prospect, but I do think other teams will see that as well. As a spacing pick and roll offensive type of guy. He showed that he can play with a more interior focused player in Caleb Wilson. I think he could work with Embiid well, and all their bigs are very traditional, more so with him and Adem Bona. They don't really have a good player at the four. So I think drafting Henry can just give them some different looks offensively. Yeah, I think he can contribute right away as well. Again, not super confident about that, but I can see it happening, which means at 23, the Hawks will take Koa Pete. Again, I think he just fits that Atlanta Hawks defensive identity. Super strong player down low. I know a lot of Hawks fans want bigs like Ademara, but Pete is strong enough and plays the exact same role as a center would. And I think, he doesn't need to start right away or get heavy minutes either. They can work on developing him as well. And then at 24, the Knicks will take Terrace Reed. This is a match made in heaven. I mean, this is your Mitchell Robinson 2.0. Yeah, there's not much more to say there. I think that's perfect. And then at 25, we have the Lakers taking Bennett Sturts. I really struggled with this pick because I need a big, but I don't think they're going to reach for any of the bigs left on the board at this point. And so I think they're just simply going to take the best player available, which would be Bennett Sturts. I don't know how that would work with how clogged their guards are right now, their guard room. But this also, the more that I think about it, is just a JJ Redick type of pick, type of player, very cerebral, good shooter. I think Luka is a perfect mentor for him. So I think the Lakers will figure it out because he's just such a good player. It'll be hard for Sturts not to work out in the NBA. At 26, the Nuggets will take Christian Anderson. Again, best player available at this point, and he could just play that sixth man spark plug role for Jamal Murray. 27, the Celtics will take Isaiah Evans as a 3-and-D guard wing, more of a Jaylen Brown trade insurance, if you will. 28, the Timberwolves will take Ibuka Okori. Definitely a position of need, super high upside. Potential point guard of the future. Do I think so? Not really. I'd honestly almost rather have Ayo Dosunmu. They're kind of 50-50 in my eyes. But I do think that would be the perfect pick for them. And if any team can develop him into a winning culture, it would be having him play against Anthony Edwards every day. That's only going to make him so much more better. At 29, the Cavs will take Justin Jefferson. At this point, they just need some win-now players. This is their window. It is closing fast. Joshua Jefferson is ready now, ready for the playoffs. Team player, very underrated. I love this pick for the Cavs. I don't know if their fans will, but if he's on the board at this point, absolutely take him, and you should be happy about it. The Mavericks at 30, I think they take Malik Thomas. He's just the best combo guard available at this point. Not too much more to say about that, and there probably won't be in the second round, just because in the second round I'd be lucky to get one pick right. In the first round, my goal is 10, bare minimum 7. So this is just more for fun and just what I can see happening, but who knows. At 31, the Knicks will take Baba Miller. I think they could add a lot of length here and some pace off the bench. I think he fits in with the Knicks culture very well. At 32, the Grizzlies with Ryan Conwell, simply just swinging on offensive upside here. 33, the Nets will take Zuby Ejiofor. Again, at this point, best player available. A lot of people have him mocked in the first round, which I agree with, but with how I'm seeing it play out, he just barely falls into the second. He gets to stay in New York as well, get plenty of playing time, and really shine on that team. On 34, the Kings will select Alex Caravan. He's just a really good 3-and-D player who wins games. Can't be mad about that. 35, the Spurs will take Trayvon Brazile. With the Spurs, again, there's going to be a common theme in the second round for them, and it's going to be length and upside. That's all I'm going to say. Length and upside for the Spurs. That's what you need, and that's what Trevon Brazile provides. The Clippers at 36 will take Ugonna Onyeso. He could be the Zubac 2.0 replacement. I really do like his upside. I like him as a big better than who they've drafted with like Yannick Konan-Niederhauser and who they traded for and Isaiah Jackson. So I think this would be a really good pick, and I think it's very reasonable for that to happen. At 37, with the Thunder, they don't need any more draft picks at this point. They're probably going to trade it away for future assets, but I didn't have any trades in my mock this year. There wasn't just feeling strong about anything, so right here I'll just have them taking Jack Cahill, a development project that I like, and I think the Thunder could, use as almost their Nikola Topic replacement if he doesn't work out. At 38, I have the Bulls taking Emmanuel Sharp. I wouldn't like us taking him that early, but we do need a defensive guard. And again, I just feel like with our new philosophy moving forward that our GM would be definitely enticed to take a guy like Sharp. At 39, the Rockets, I think, would take Bruce Thornton, which I actually really like this pairing now more that I think about it. Fred VanVleet's getting older and more expensive, and then the other people running the one, you have Reed Shepherd and Amen Thompson. Neither of them are your traditional point guard. Bruce Thornton gives you a little more stability, so you can run Amen at the 2, 3, or 4. You could run Reed Shepherd at the 2 and 1. Again, just giving teams more looks, more versatility, but more so for the Rockets specifically, like an actual true point guard. And again, he's proven himself. He's ready to play now. At 40, I think the Celtics will take Dylan Mitchell, just a versatile defender. Seems like the type of guy the Celtics will take a shot on and probably do well with. I'm not a huge fan of him, but it just makes sense. At 41, we have the Heat taking Tyler Nickel, just a positive shooter. I think that's what they need in the second round right now. Get guys off the bench who can knock down threes. That's all you need. 42 with the Spurs, they take Sergio De La Rey. They don't necessarily need another guard, but he's got length and he's got upside. At this point in the draft, I'm surprised he fell this far in my mock, so this is great value. He couldn't fall any further and fits, my scheme that I have the Spurs needing or going for. At 43, we have the Nets taking Jaden Bradley. He will come in and immediately be a leader in the locker room and on the court. I don't feel like there has been a vocal leader on the Nets in a while, and I think Jaden Bradley could fill that role. 44, the Spurs take Isaiah Nelson. I'm out on him, but there's just more length and upside there that the Spurs can look to develop. Might as well take their shots in the second round while they can. At 45, the Kings will take Richie Saunders, another good 3-and-D player. They need some more shooters. They got to get out of this mid-range game that their identity has been, and I think Saunders can help out with that. At 46, the Magic will take Malik Brown. At this point in the draft, the best interior defender, and that's what they need. Paolo, Wendell Carter, Mo Wagner, Goga, they can't hold it down in the playoffs against guys like Cat, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, So I think Malik Brown being an interior defensive specialist works perfectly for their team. At 47, the Suns will take Aaron. I always mess up his last name, so I'm not going to say it. You see it on the screen. Aaron from Tennessee State. He just has two-way upside, and I feel like that's what their identity has been with Colin Gillespie, Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks. They just drafted Rasheer Fleming, who's the same way. And I think he just fits the mold of being a Phoenix Sun. 48, the Mavericks will take Felix Okpara. Just some more big man insurance. I know there's rumors about them trading Daniel Gafford. So this just gets a new face, new body in the big room. And he's pretty solid overall. 49, the Nuggets will take Tyler Bilodeau. Just a floor spacing shooter. They always seem to take these types of guys in the second round. At 50, we have the Raptors taking Braden Smith. They desperately need a playmaking point guard, and Braden Smith is the perfect plug-and-play guy there off the bench. At 51, the Wizards will take Jaden Henley, one of my favorite sleepers in the draft, and I think the Wizards can recognize that and just take a swing on his upside. At 52, the Clippers will take Quadir Copeland. Again, another bigger guard with upside. They have a small guard room right now with Darius Garland as their starting one. And then Keaton Wagler would move into their starting two, depending. I know they have Benedict Mather and Kawhi Leonard. We'll see how their rotation works out. But I think Quadir Copeland coming off the bench as a bigger guard would be helpful in that system. At 53, of the Rockets taking Nick Martinelli. I don't really have a good reason for this one. Maybe just some more offensive efficiency. Yeah, but this one, I really wasn't getting any vibes. There wasn't any reasoning behind this one. So just Nick Martinelli to the Rockets at 53, I guess. At 54, we have the Warriors taking Otega Oweh. I think he's ready now, and he's a pretty good fit with the Warriors. Not the greatest, but he can kind of play that Moses Moody role if needed. The Warriors will be an interesting team next year to see if they're actually good or if they need to start breaking up their old core. But that just feels like a right pick to me. At 55, we have the Knicks taking Toby Lawal. At this point for the Knicks, you won a championship, you have a deep roster, you've already made some good draft picks. Now you can just randomly swing on traits, and Toby Lawal has the highest vertical and is the most athletic. It's always good to have athletes on your basketball team. At 56, I have the Bulls taking Milos Udoka out of Houston. Not really much behind this other than pairing up teammates and the slap identity of the Bulls being very similar to the Houston Cougar identity that Kelvin Sampson, the coach, has coached his teams to play like. That's all about that one. 57, the Hawks have taking Toby Awaka. Again, they have a full rotation. They have a good roster. Just swing on traits at this point. And I haven't drafted them like a traditional big man yet. But Toby Awaka is one of the best offensive rebounders. There might be something there to look into. At 58, the Pelicans, I have them taking Nate Biddle. They need a defensive big. And I don't think Nate Biddle is that guy. But according to consensus, it seems like he probably will be drafted right around this range. So might as well just have him going here to the Pelicans. At 59, we have the Timberwolves taking Vsevolod Ishchenko. Hard name to say. Again, Wolves, they're ready to win now. They have a deep roster. At this point, you can have some draft and stash potential here, just like the Bucks did this past year with Bojan Markovic, who again is one of my favorite players coming into the NBA here soon. I think he will surprise people. Anyway, Ishchenko, I really like as a prospect, and I think the Wolves, seeing how they've been all over these high risk, high reward guys in Leonard Miller and Johan B. Ranji, I think Ishchenko will stand out to them as well, and I think that's where he goes at 59, and I'm somewhat confident about it. But with the last pick in the draft, I have the Wizards taking Jaron Pierre Jr. He's one of my guys, one of my draft crushes, so I may be biased in him being the last pick in the draft, but again, he's a fun upside swing that they can use as a two-way guy. They had plenty of people like that last year, whether it was drafted or unsigned, with guys like Jameer Watson, Julian Reese. And I think Jaron Pierre could just be that next guy up for the Wizards in that sense. So there's my mock draft. We will see how it ages, I guess, 48 hours from now. And yeah, let's enjoy it, man. It's the best time of the year.